Remember that footage of my phone being remotely controlled and hacked? Well, let's take a closer look. But this time, let's actually see what the conversation was, who it was with, to see what the hacker seems to be so interested in. What would anyone care about what Tori and I are communicating about in private conversations? To go so far as to hack my phone?
Why did they come to me now, 3 years later? I think I was pretty vocal. I heard the audio the day Seth Rich died. I repeat, I heard it. Why you come to me now? 3 years later, why? Oh, it's because of the election fraud. It's because I told the world what you didn't want them to know.
Oh, that. Well, that certainly explains why Tori received a subpoena in regards to a certain murdered DNC staffer. The DNC server debacle was never about Hillary or Podesta's emails, though those emails definitely revealed corruption and evil within the Democrat Party leadership at the time. The media's hyper-focus on the emails actually serves as cover.
You think it's just emails that a server holds on to? Come on, guys. It's got software programs. It's got firewalls. It's got passwords. It's got documents. It's got PDFs. It's got spreadsheets. It's got links to banking stuff. It's got links to how do you deploy stuff, deploying, how to meddle with elections, deploying algorithms. A lot of that stuff is currently with a grand jury. And the only reason I had tangible was because I sent that off to acting attorney General Whitaker later. I'm pretty sure that the evidence or documents you seek are attached to the Awan case.
The real discovery was apparently election meddling software, memorandums of understanding, and commitments with other nations, collusion, bribes, and other nefarious activity, such as folders labeled insurance. In order to understand what really happened and how it pertains to these current events, we must first go back in time. On February 12, 2016, InfoWars reporter Richard Reeves filed a report where a Democrat superdelegate, Bob Mulholland, admitted on camera that the fix was in for Hillary Clinton.
Hillary is going to have a huge edge when it comes to superdelegates. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. March 1st is Super Tuesday. At the end of the day, you will see that Hillary has the most delegates of regular people from caucuses like Iowa, from New Hampshire primaries, Nevada, South Carolina, and then all those states on March 1st.
So it wasn't a surprise that on Super Tuesday of 2016, Hillary Clinton won the Democrat primary.
Big delegate day for Hillary Clinton. 449 delegates so far, still counting, to just 273 for Bernie Sanders. So if you look overall, she is starting to build up a serious lead over Bernie Sanders. It'll be very hard.
Has a bigger lead right now than Barack Obama had.
However, this is where the DNC insider who leaked the mirrored copy of the DNC server comes into play. Allegedly, this DNC staffer knew that the DNC had stolen the primary from Sanders and might have been upset.
We have won, at this point, 45% of pledged delegates, but we have only earned 7% of super delegates. So in other words, the way the system works is you have establishment candidates who win virtually all of the super delegates. It makes it hard for insurgent candidacies like ours to win.
Hey, what's not to be upset about? The realization that your elections are rigged. At the helm of this alleged primary election meddling was none other than former DNC chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is wrong because we have had these rules in place since 1984, and we have two types of delegates. We have the delegates that are pledged, that are elected by voters, or that represent voters based on the outcome, and then we have party leaders and other elected officials who have been in the trenches for a long time and who have a role, appropriately so, in choosing our party's nominee. And it's important to note that the unpledged delegates or super delegates have never played a role in actually selecting our party's nominee.
Who resigned from her position after WikiLeaks began publishing what a DNC staffer had allegedly leaked to them.
The chair of the DNC, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has announced her resignation. It comes after those leaked DNC emails. Bernie Sanders supporters say the emails prove the party favored Hillary Clinton all along.
Allegedly, it was in March that a DNC staffer started mirroring a copy of the DNC server. This individual was apparently trying to get evidence of the DNC stealing the primary from Sanders ahead of the Democratic National Convention in an attempt to save elections and democracy. By the end of March, beginning of April, the DNC knew their server had been mirrored. But by who? The law firm Perkins Coie, which is really indistinguishable from the DNC, blocked the FBI from getting the DNC server. And we can assume it's because there was incriminating evidence on the server. So they activated their assets and hired both Fusion GPS and CrowdStrike for damage control. They needed to find out who mirrored the DNC server and how, what they obtained from the server, and stop it from being leaked.
When we discovered the intrusion, we treated this like the serious incident it is and reached out to CrowdStrike immediately. Our team moved as quickly as possible to kick out the intruders and secure our network.
At the beginning of April, the Dems were certain Trump was behind it because CrowdStrike loaded software onto the server to determine where the hack came from.
It's the ability to rapidly install our technology. We see the tip of the breach being the endpoint. That's where the data resides, the servers, the endpoints, the desktops, and that's what we're protecting.
Only to discover it was a physical breach taken directly from the server, not a hack.
They didn't yet know if it was a breach. They asked us to come in and evaluate, and within 24 hours we were able to ascertain with our software deployed on all their machines.
Still under the impression that Trump was behind the physical breach of the server, Fusion GPS started the Oppositional Research Dossier as part of the parallel construction to get a FISA warrant on Trump.
In this case, a dossier on Donald Trump, probably the DNC has more information in its files on its servers than any other organization that's been researching Donald Trump for a year, pardon me.
Even though the spying on his campaign was already taking place to justify setting up the June 9th meeting at Trump Tower to see if they could find out which of Trump's people did it and how much they knew.
The big question tonight is, what did the president know about the meeting here at Trump Tower, and when did he know it?
The June 9th meeting at Trump Tower, which was a setup to, 1, see if Trump's people knew about what was on the server, and 2, to set Trump's people up as a culprit given that at the time Trump's people indicated they didn't know what was on the server.
That Russian lawyer insists that she did not come to Trump Tower here in New York to deliver damaging information about Hillary Clinton.
She flew in specially from Moscow to meet with Trump's inner circle on the 25th floor of Trump Tower, one floor below the office of Donald Trump Sr. Democrats in Congress tonight are asking, how could he not know what was going on? And now tonight with the emails, yet another version of what was on the agenda here.
Knowing there was a physical breach, but still believing Trump was behind it, the DNC and RNC servers were then both hacked.
And the RNC should be worried as well, I imagine.
So selective material could be leaked from the DNC, while not leaking anything from the RNC, to create the appearance that Trump was the beneficiary of the cover story hack. It was done in such a way as to make it look like Russians were behind the hack.
Experts are telling us that Russian state actors broke into the DNC. Experts have said that it is the Russians that in fact went in and took these emails.
And a completely separate actor that penetrated that network in April of this year and went straight for the research department, the Democratic National Committee, specifically looking for the opposition files on the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. And they were actually doing some of the same things repeatedly, not knowing that someone already had that information that they were after.
Apparently, there were backdoor deals regarding the Uranium One scandal on the mirrored DNC server, and fears of Hillary's involvement in the Uranium One deal would be surfacing during the election. This is where the Dems begin to point the finger at Trump and accuse him of collusion with the Russians they themselves were guilty of. May 2016, the cover-up and insurance policy begins. The now infamous FBI counter-espionage section chief, Peter Strzok, directed Priya Ayers, the acting general counsel of the United States Department of Energy, to not comply with the FOIA requests regarding Uranium One. Thus, the midterm exams, code for the FBI reopening the investigation into the DNC server leak, was really about starting a cover-up to hide what was potentially going to come out if the mirrored DNC server was leaked. And Hillary's emails became code for election meddling software, memorandums of understanding, and commitments with other nations, collusion, bribes, and other nefarious activities such as folders labeled insurance. Anthony Weiner's computer, anyone? DC Leaks, which was created to push the narrative that Russia hacked the DNC server to benefit Trump, is where the selective DNC leaks began, not WikiLeaks.
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
Around this time, Julian Assange knew that he and WikiLeaks were in danger. Assange had the election meddling software, memorandums of understanding, and commitments with other nations, collusion, bribes, and other nefarious activity that came off the mirrored DNC server. At this point in time, the Democrats knew that Trump's people were not behind the physical breach at the DNC server, but had to cover up the physical breach with a fake accusation of the Russians hacked the DNC server, falsely claiming that the hack was Russia trying to help Trump to win the election.
Everyone keeps thinking that it was about emails, right? Everybody keeps thinking it was about emails. It's totally not. It's more nefarious than that. There were programs for rigging elections.
The Dems also had figured out that it was a disgruntled DNC staffer, a Bernie supporter, who physically mirrored the DNC server.
Well, we saw a different type of data breach at the DNC 6 months ago when a Bernie Sanders staffer was found to have been able to access information that the Clinton campaign had developed on individual voters. The Clinton campaign had developed on individual voters.
This is where Tory comes into the picture.
I had SD cards, 2 of them that I created, and they went straight to Sessions and Whitaker. I know for a fact from my sources that a lot of the stuff they're looking for is already in the Awan case.
July 10th, the DNC staffer who allegedly mirrored the DNC server is murdered.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered.
Although Assange would not say whether Rich was a WikiLeaks source, the organization is now offering a $20,000 reward.
But was he one of your sources then?
July 22nd, WikiLeaks began to leak some of what allegedly came off the DNC server. July 31st, the open investigation into the Trump campaign supposedly colluding with the Russians begins. Things get very dangerous as the Obama administration was still in power, and Obama was cracking down on whistleblowers more than any other administration had ever done. Remember Edward Snowden? Remember Bradley Manning? That all happened under Obama's watch. So it wasn't until 2017 that enough smoke had cleared that Tory allegedly sent to Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker SD cards and the contents of the mirrored DNC server on them.
You know what I was thinking when we saw that, Millie? I thought, you remember CrowdStrike that didn't have a federal government contract, but supposedly found Russian spying, right?
When a whistleblower leaked evidence of election meddling to my website, Tori figured out that it was the election meddling software found on the mirrored DNC server that caused all the commotion and wound up with a murdered DNC staffer.
The Mueller report. Inside, a toxic cover-up. An Omaha family loses their son but has to stop wild rumors surrounding his death. Page 48 confirms a conspiracy theory built on blatant lies.
Many have alleged that Seth Rich leaked the DNC's emails to WikiLeaks. This is a cover story and turns out to be false. The counter-narrative pushed by the mainstream media and corrupt individuals in the government is that the Russians hacked the DNC and leaked the emails to WikiLeaks. This is also false. Only because it wasn't about Hillary Clinton's emails. The back and forth between these two false stories is a smokescreen, distracting away from something much more serious.
The blogosphere was full of stories, and political circles in Washington were full of stories and speculation that the Russians had, in 2014, 2 years before, hacked into her secret server and were therefore in a position to drop this stuff during the election. But that related to Hillary's server. So the FBI, what the FBI did is later, after the DNC hack and the dumping through Wikipedia in July. WikiLeaks, yeah. WikiLeaks.
By mixing up the Russians hacking Hillary Clinton's server in 2014 with the DNC leak of 2016, a perfect cover story and false counter-narrative is born.
The incumbent government used the apparatus of the state, principally the law enforcement agencies and the intelligence agencies, both to spy on political opponents, but also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election. But also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election.
Clearly, Attorney General Bill Barr knows this.
I do have a little update on Seth Rich. You know, I got some information from that woman to her podcast. Tori says that the law firms were now filing civil suits to invoke discovery because they're very worried about what information people might have on CrowdStrike.
If I had created 2 SD cards and sent them off to the DOJ, right? You know, I'm sure that the other people that were in that huddle did the same thing. Could have been that maybe some of them actually work at the DOJ. You don't know that. Maybe they work, you know, for an agency and they're in that huddle too. You don't know that. I sent it off because I was like, and I've already said that, whenever I find any indication of a crime, I'll send it off.
All of this, of course, will lead to thousands of sealed indictments. And there's no doubt about it.
According to Tori, she was party to a group of individuals working with this disgruntled DNC staffer trying to whistleblow on the DNC, rigging the Democrat primaries. Apparently, she was party to the phone call and actually heard the murder take place.
Why did they come to me now, 3 years later? I think I was pretty vocal. I heard the audio the day Seth Rich died. I repeat, I heard it.
Hence why Tori's now being subpoenaed in the Seth Rich murder case by none other than Barack Obama's attorney.
I'm not a lawyer, but using civil litigation to gain insight to assist clients that are under criminal investigation is kind of illegal if that was proven to be motivation.
What makes more sense? The Russians hacked the DNC server to help Donald Trump win the 2016 election? Or a DNC staffer leaked evidence of a criminal election meddling conspiracy by the DNC during the Democrat primaries? So it shouldn't be a surprise that as soon as we begin to unravel all of this, all hell breaks loose. Tori gets served a subpoena regarding the Seth Rich case. My electronics get hacked specifically looking for any whistleblower information pertaining to election fraud, the FISA applications, etc.
I mean, this is incredible. This is where you see, you are right over the target.
Now that we've put more light on this, we can get into why the DNC stole the primary from Bernie, why Hillary Clinton had to win the 2016 election at any cost, and why Donald Trump becoming president had to be stopped before he found out their dirtiest secret. But this is the subject of my next video, so stay tuned. Remember, I'm listener supported, so please go to InfoWarsStore.com to support my work. Take advantage of some of the great deals and the great products we have available so you can both help take care of your own health and help us fight the info war. You can also go to Millie Weaver on Subscribestar to support me directly if you choose to. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to give you my next video.
Hey, what happens if you try to order your favorite InfoWars Life product only to find out they're sold out? Yeah, I know it kind of sucks, but there is a solution. All you got to do is go to InfoWarsStore.com and click on Auto Ship. Bam! Problem solved just like that. And now you're scheduled for regular delivery. That means no more back orders, and you'll never run out of your favorite InfoWars Life products again. Pretty cool. But guess what? It gets better. When you sign up for Auto Ship at InfoWarsStore.com, you get an additional 10% off that product. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. So what are you waiting for? Support the InfoWar. Order and click on Auto Ship at InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.